Caleb Jones, Alpha Male 2.0 podcast. I had to add that last part. See, if I tell you what song that is, I'll get a copyright strike. It's Spider-Man. It's the old Spider-Man show from the 60s or whatever the fuck it was. Welcome. Here we are once again. And I am once again talking to you from beautiful and wonderful, for the most part, Asunción, Paraguay. Obviously, it is not a first world country. There's some poverty here and some issues here, but thankfully I'm in the better part of town. And so as I look out over the view, it's pretty nice. And today, I'm going to give you help with a topic that is very important. It is a topic that most men in the Western world screw up. And if you avoid this problem, you will avoid one of the biggest problems experienced by, at least older or middle-aged Western men. And that is when you mishandle finances when you are married or live with a woman. Now, I know what you're going to say. Caleb, I'm only 27. I don't live with anybody. I'm never going to get married. I'm a tough, independent alpha male, and I'm never going to get married because I'm red pill. I'm red pill, baby. I've read the articles and seen the YouTube videos, so I'm never getting married. I have addressed this before. I'm going to address it very quickly here before I go on. The odds are overwhelming. I don't care if you're 26. It's really easy to act cool when you're 26 and say, I'm never getting married. The odds, the statistical odds that you will eventually be at least living with a woman. You may or may not be legally married. Hopefully not. But the odds of you living full-time with a woman in a romantic context before you are 45 is sky high. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the odds are overwhelming. You will do this. Just because you don't want to do this right now when you're 26 doesn't mean you'll never want to do this. I doubt that you'll want to be 53 years old and pick up chicks at dance clubs. Right now you don't mind doing it. It's fine. Even you serial monogamy guys, you guys are like 31. You're like, I don't mind having girlfriend after girlfriend after girlfriend after girlfriend. Fine when you're 31. You're not going to like that when you're 53 or 46 or 67. Trust me, you won't. And if you are, you're in a bizarre, rare exception to the rule. So, just about everyone listening to this podcast falls in one of two categories. Either you are already married, and when I say married, that means you are living with a woman full-time in a romantic context, irrelevant of whatever paperwork or legal paperwork you've signed or not signed. Even if you're not legally married, even if it's an open relationship like I've got where you can fuck other women, you are living the lifestyle of a married man. You are not living the lifestyle of a single guy when you live with a woman. So that means you're married. So either you are married or you're not married yet. You will get married, my version of married quote unquote. You will eventually move in with a woman. And so the topic of this podcast will become relevant to you. So either it is relevant to you right now or it will become relevant to you in several years from now. And again, this is something that most men in the Western world screw up on. So let me explain to you how this works. Let me explain the concept to you. And then let me explain to you an example of the way I have handled this in my life. In terms of managing your finances with your wife, and when I say wife, that means a woman you are legally married to or your live-in girlfriend. I consider your live-in girlfriend your wife because, again, you're living the lifestyle of a married man. You say, no, she's not my wife. We're not married. She's my girlfriend. If you live with her full-time, motherfucker, you are living the lifestyle of a married man. So de facto, she's your wife. She's your de facto wife. Okay. So for the rest of this podcast, I'm going to call this person your quote unquote wife. Okay. You can address, in terms of the finances of the marriage, quote unquote, you can address this in one of two ways that makes sense. You have the option of the 1950s marriage or the 1970s marriage. Now, these are not one of the two options that she will want. She will want a modern day marriage, which is bad. I will cover all three categories. So, 1950s marriage means that she doesn't work. You pay all of her bills for her. And so, which is nice for her, she doesn't have to work. But the price she pays for that is you are in charge of all the money. You are in charge of the financial decisions, not her. You can receive input from her. You can get her opinion, but you are the deciding factor. Any decision between the two of you that relates to money, you are the final arbiter. It is not a 50-50 relationship because she's not working. She is not contributing any finances to the equation. Therefore, she has no say or no final say, I should say. She doesn't have a say, but she does not make the decisions in terms of the finances of the family. You do. Now, if she doesn't like that, she can go get her ass a job and make her own money, which is perfectly fine. That's the 1970s marriage that I will cover in a moment. But the 1950s marriage means that she doesn't work, she really doesn't have any income, and because of that, you are paying the entire set of bills for her and you. You're paying all of her bills, but you're in charge of your finances and her finances in terms of the budget, in terms of what kind of house you buy or apartment you rent, in terms of managing debt and things like that, when to take on debt, paying off debt, the budget, the long-term financial planning, the investments. That is something that you control for both of you. It's not like she says, well, this is a 50-50 marriage, and so we have to make decisions 50-50. No, sweetheart, if you don't work and you sit on your ass all day, I'm sorry, you're not going to make the financial decisions. I will. And if you don't like that, go get a job. Then you can make your own financial decisions with your own money. Now, you may say, but wait a minute, Kayla, what about kids? Maybe she has to do that because she wants to be a stay-at-home mom and raise kids. Great. That doesn't change anything I just said. If she wants to stay at home and she doesn't want to get a job and she wants to raise kids, she's doing that because she has made that decision, not because you're forcing her. We are alpha male 2.0s, not alpha male 1.0s. We will never tell a woman, all right, bitch, you're going to quit your job right now and come home and make babies for me. And you better fucking do that because that's what a woman does, God damn it. That's alpha male 1.0. We are alpha male 2.0s. We don't do that. Instead, we say, sweetheart, do whatever you want. You want to stay home and have kids? No problem, I'll pay for them, but guess what? I'm in charge of all the cash. You'd rather not do that? Great. Go get a job, and if you want kids, figure out daycare, and you figure that out. Cool, no problem. It's up to her. So that is the 1950s marriage. That is a perfectly acceptable way of being married to a woman, assuming you can afford it financially. Now, the one issue with this is that most men in the modern day Western world, in the collapsing Western civilization, don't make enough money to have a 1950s marriage. Most guys who live with a woman or have a wife, she has to work in order to pay the bills. So in that case, this is a moot point. You're gonna have a 1970s marriage, which I'm about to describe in a second. But assuming you can afford it, I can afford it. I know a lot of you guys who are a little older, over the age 35, can certainly afford it. You can afford it. A 1950s marriage is perfectly valid within an alpha male 2.0 world. Now, quick aside, when I say marriage, that means an OLTR marriage. I am not talking about TMM. I'm not talking about traditional monogamous marriage. That doesn't work. That is insane in the modern era. If you're going to settle down with a woman, it must be an OLTR marriage where it's a completely wide open sexual marriage. You can fuck other women whenever you want without ever having to get her permission. And there is a stack of prenuptial paperwork a mile high that is actually legally enforceable where you live, where if she leaves you or you get divorced, you don't have to give her any money. That's what I have with Pink Firefly. It works great. So all these marriages, we're assuming, I'm pre-assuming at least, that you are in an OLTR marriage, not a TMM. If you're in a TMM, you're fucked no matter what you do. It's kind of irrelevant. Good luck with that. So we're talking about OLTR marriages here. So having a 1950s OLTR marriage is perfectly acceptable, assuming you can afford it. Now, let's switch gears and discuss the 1970s marriage. 1970s marriage is basically the opposite of the 1950s marriage. The 1970s marriage is when your wife, or live-in girlfriend, or whatever, it doesn't matter, says to you, I am a strong, independent woman, and you're not going to tell me what to do, and this is my fucking money, and I'm going to just determine my own financial decisions. Thank you very much. Your response is, no problem, sweetheart. Get to work. Get up at 6 a.m., get ready for work, sit in traffic for a fucking hour, and work like a man. Great. Feminists wanted to be able to work like men, and now they have it. So hell yes, sweetheart. Go work and make your own money. And under a 1970s marriage, whatever money she makes is 100% her money. You have no control over it. So the disadvantage for the woman is that she has to work, which she probably won't like. How many women, raise your hand if you've ever met a woman who loves her job. So funny. Women hate their jobs. Men hate their jobs, and women really hate their jobs. Oh my God. So, all right, she has to work at a job she fucking hates, okay? But the advantage for her is she doesn't have to follow your orders. Her money is 100% hers, and you have no say in an OLTR 1970 style marriage over her money. Now, there's one exception to that is who pays the bills for the rent and the utilities and things like that of the shared home. So in our 1970s marriage, you work out some kind of deal with her. Maybe you each pay half of the rent. Or maybe if you make a lot more money than her, you pay the rent and she pays the utilities. Work out whatever you want to work out, but she needs to contribute at least somewhat to the bills of the shared household, at least as a percentage of her income, if not the same amount of money. Statistically speaking, if you're over the age of 30, I should say, you'll probably be making more money than her. Now, goddamn, if you're in your 20s, I hate to say this, statistically speaking, if she doesn't have a kid, she'll probably make more money than you. Oh my God, it hurts me to even say this. Ugh. Statistically speaking, men in their 20s make less money than women in their 20s, provided the woman doesn't have any kids. Great job, guys. Way to go, Western civilization. Anyway, so assuming you're over 30, you'll probably make more money than her. And so she doesn't have to pay the same dollar amount in terms of your household, but in terms of percentage of income, she should kick in something. But whatever that is, that's totally up to you. Work it out. But outside of that, outside of the money that she kicks in once a month to contribute to the utilities or rent or whatever, her money is her money. And you have no say whatsoever over that. If she wants to blow her money on stupid shit, that's her problem. Let her. If she wants to go into debt $100,000 by going to college and getting a degree in art history, hey, that's on her. That's her financial problem. You have nothing to do with that. You can give her your opinion, of course, but you can't tell her what to do because, again, we are alpha male 2.0s. We don't tell women what to do. She can do whatever she wants with her money. And conversely, she can't tell you what to do with your money. Again, none of this, we're 50-50 partners and we can decide together. No, your money is your money. You work, you make your money. She works, she makes her money, and you have separate finances. Boom, that's it. It's fair. She works, which she doesn't like, but then that money is her money and you have no control over it. That's the 1970s marriage. And the reason I call that a 1970s marriage is this is the type of marriage that was championed by second wave feminists, not today's feminists, which is third wave and fourth wave. We're talking about second wave feminists, Gloria Steinem type feminists in the 1970s, where they said, look, the man and the woman, the wife should be able to work and make her own money and do what she wants with her own money. By the way, I completely agree with that. I am the opposite of the traditional religious right-wing conservative who thinks women should just stay at home and men should take care of them and women should just raise kids. Oh, fuck no, bitch. You want to go work? Get your ass to work and pay your own bills. I fucking love that shit. That is great. Matter of fact, the most serious relationships that I've had in my life, for the most part, and the longest lasting relationships and the most rewarding relationships were with women who were really hard workers, Pink Firefly included. Pink Firefly spent most of her adult life working 2 jobs. My girlfriend before Pink Firefly, HBM, would work 12-hour days. She managed a restaurant, and there were twice where she would work such long hours, she would actually pass out because she wouldn't take any breaks, and the fucking ambulance had to come get her from work. So I like really hardworking women who work and pay their own goddamn bills. I think that's fucking great. Love it, love it, love it, love it. When these right-wing guys say, women shouldn't work, they should stay home and a man should take care. Fuck that shit. No, put her to work and let her pay her own bills. Now, that being said, I don't mind either 1950s marriage or 1970s marriage. Those are both okay with me. In terms of logistics and in terms of my personal philosophy as an alpha male 2.0, both of those will work fine. Either one is fine with me. Now, here's the tricky part. Which of those 2 marriages is the typical modern day woman going to want to have? If you answered neither, then you're a genius, because that's a trick question. The answer is neither. The typical modern day woman in the Western world and many outside of the Western world are going to want what I call the modern day marriage. And the modern day marriage is she works or she doesn't, or maybe she works part-time, or maybe she works full-time, whatever. And all the money she makes and all the money you make go into the shared pool. And then the shared pool is 50-50 yours and hers. And that's theoretical. Usually it's 60%, 70% hers, and maybe 40% yours if you're lucky. So she goes out and makes a little money, less than you, or makes no money, and whatever money comes to the household goes in this giant pot labeled both of you, and then she gives you this big lecture about how this is a 50-50 marriage, and you need to decide together because this is a 50-50 relationship. That type of arrangement is bullshit. And if you agree to something like that, you are stupid and you are a beta male. You're just a fucking moron. Under no conditions is that fair in any way whatsoever. No, no, no. That type of relationship, that type of arrangement is only for dominant women married to pussy beta males. Now, if you are a pussy beta male and you've chosen consciously to be a pussy beta male, as I discussed in the past, great, have fun. You can stop listening to this podcast right now. You don't need to listen to any more of my content. Go forth and be a pussy. You won't be happy. You'll never be free, but you've made your choice. Have fun with that. But if you're an alpha male 2.0 or want to move in that direction, you cannot have that type of arrangement. That is completely unfair. The way women work with this is, and this is not just with financial arrangements in relationships, this is with all of dating. What women want to do is take the best parts of the 50s where they were housewives and never had to work and the guys kissed their asses, and the best part of the feminist 1970s where they were strong, dominant, powerful women and no one can tell me what to do, god damn it. They take the bits and pieces of both those scenarios that they like, and all the parts that they don't like, they leave there. They say, oh, no, thank you. So they say things like, all right, let's see, you can't tell me what to do. Oh, I like that, I'll take that. Let's see, boy pays for first dates. Okay, you can keep that. I don't want to pay for my first dates. That's bullshit. Let's see, if I don't work, you pay for me. Yes, I like that. I have 50%, at least 50% say in everything we do, even if I don't work. Okay, I'll take that. It's completely unfair and it's completely ridiculous, and that is the default that women follow today. If you don't have these discussions and these structures with a woman before you move in with her, that's the structure she's going to assume. She's going to assume that completely irrelevant of how much money she makes, or even if she makes any money, she's going to assume that the money is 50-50 hers. Now, I'll add one more wrinkle to this. This is even crazier. You guys who are in traditional monogamous marriages or have had in the past, like I have, a traditional monogamous marriage, you'll be able to relate to this completely. This is where it gets really insane. Under the modern day marriage, the money that you make is quote unquote ours. That's what she thinks. The money you make is ours. And in some cases, the money that she makes is hers. So in many scenarios, the money that you make will be that 50-50 pot that she has 50% control over. And if she later decides to go make money on her own, that's her money. Fuck you. You're not going to tell her what to do. That's her money. Absolutely, completely ridiculous and insane. Yet, there are hundreds of millions of married men all over the planet Earth who follow that model. No. Just say no. Be like Nancy Reagan and just say no. Instead, you need to have a 1950s marriage or a 1970s marriage. And to make it fair, you know what you can do? You let her pick. That's the secret to this. You let her pick. Sweetheart, when we move in together, you have two options. And you have only two options. Option one is you don't have to work. I'll pay all the bills, but I run your life in terms of your finances. I don't run your life, but I run your finances. I am in charge of your finances. I am in charge of my finances. I will make all the big financial decisions. Yes, I will solicit your thoughts and opinions. Yes, I care about your opinions because I love you and you're a part of my life, but I'm the one who makes the decisions. But you don't have to work. So that's option one. Option two is you can go work or continue to work if she's already working. Great, you can go work. Whatever money you make, you pay me a small hunk of money to cover your part of the rent or utilities or whatever, and the rest of the money you make, no matter how much you make, if you make $20,000 a year, if you make $1 million a year, it doesn't matter. That's your money. I have no authority over that money. It's your money to do whatever you want with. And, sweetheart, you can't tell me what to do with my money. My money is my money. Your money is your money. That way, I'll never tell you what to do. Wouldn't that be nice? You got to work. That's the downside for you, but I will never tell you what to do. Which of those two would you like? And if she wants anything else other than those two, she does not qualify for an OLTR, in my strong opinion. If I had a woman during the OLTR talk telling me, oh, that's bullshit, I don't want to do that. Everything we make is 50-50, and she starts rattling off the regular modern day woman bullshit, immediate disqualification for an OLTR girlfriend and certainly an OLTR wife, in my strong opinion. That would be an immediate disqualification. If I had sat down with Pink Firefly when I discussed these topics with her, and she had said, no. Whatever we make is 50-50. We both need to contribute and we both need to decide and we're going to have a discussion on everything we need. Oh no, I would not be married to her today. Trust me. I had a marriage like that once. I am never doing that again. And you don't want that either. She must choose between a 1950s marriage and a 1970s marriage, or you don't move in with her. That is the correct approach. Because under either of those models, there is no argument. So in her 1970s marriage, there's no argument because you're not bossing her around telling her what to do with her money. The only way there can be an argument under that scenario is if she's bitching at you about your money. Well, if she does that, it's time to end the marriage. That's psycho. She has no right to bitch about you. She has no right to tell you what to do with your money. It's horseshit. No, you're your own person. This is bullshit. She can't argue really under a 1950s marriage, because if she completely disagrees with what you're doing with the money that you're making and she's not, she can get a job whenever she wants. You're not going to tell her not to get a job. Again, you're not a right-wing, conservative, Christian alpha male 1.0 who says, bitch, you have to stay home. No, you say, sweetheart, if you don't like this at any time, you can go get a job. Matter of fact, I will help you find a job. No problem. And then you can have your own money that you can spend any way you want. So, it leaves the ball in her court. What is she going to do? She can't complain about that. And if she does, it's time to get divorced. That's very simple. So let me give you an example of what I have done and how I've handled this in my marriage to Pink Firefly. And by the way, I first wrote the article on this 1950s, 1970s concept many years before I even met Pink Firefly. As usual, I walk my talk. I live the way I preach. This is not something I just came up with half-assed once I was already married to someone. That's stupid. This is the model I developed years before I ever met the woman who would later become my wife. So when I met Pink Firefly, when we started dating, actually started out as an FB and then she started dating later. She was working. She was working 2 jobs, as I said earlier. She's a very hardworking person. She would work 5 days a week as an insurance auditor. And on the weekends, she would manage an office for an income property management firm. And so she worked very, very hard and she had her own money. And matter of fact, Pink Firefly is one of the few women I have ever met in my life who was not an old lady, who was able to support her own apartment on her own, living 100% alone. No roommates, no kids, no boyfriend, no sister, no nothing. She lived alone. I was very impressed with that because most women can't pull that off. Shit, nowadays most men can't even pull that fucking thing off, so it's even harder. But certainly I was impressed with that. So when we started dating, and yes, when we moved in together, we had a 1970s marriage. So she would make her money. She was making pretty good money, by the way. She made more money than most men. Again, statistically, this is how it works now. Her income was in the high 50,000 K range. I forget what the exact number was, but it was pretty good. She was making pretty good money. And because she had been doing this for 13, 14 years. She worked very hard most of her life. So yeah, she worked on her own. She brought in her own income. She paid me a hunk to contribute to some of the household. And it was fair. She had her money, I had my money, and per the OLTR legal requirements of an OLTR marriage, we had and still have 100% separate finances. We have no joint checking accounts, no joint bills, no joint cell phone accounts, no joint nothing. Everything is completely separate, and it will remain separate for the rest of the marriage. I have to do that to make sure my prenuptial paperwork is enforceable and remains enforceable for the rest of my life. So by the way, I should mention that really quick. 1950s marriage or 1970s marriage, it doesn't matter. You have legally separate finances in an OLTR marriage. Legally separate. That doesn't mean you can't give her money. You can if it's a 1950s marriage. There's ways of doing this. But my point is, you don't have any checking accounts with both your names on it. You don't have any car payments or mortgages or leases with both of your names on it, even cell phone accounts. Pink Firefly and I have completely separate accounts on literally everything she owns and everything I own. As I've said many times before, you share everything, but you co-own nothing, ever, with anyone. That goes for men too. Your brother, your buddy, don't do that. Never co-own anything. I have an entire section in The Unchained Man on that, alphamalebook.com. So we had a 1970s marriage because we've been together for many years now. As I mentioned in the past, my income has gone up, way up the past 4, 5, 6 years. I now make more money than I ever actually planned on or had set goals for. So I reached a point in my life where her income, whether or not it was there, didn't really affect our our monthly budget or our monthly lifestyle. And so we had a discussion and I said, hey, she was bitching about her job one day. It was like the 4th, 5th time in a row, as women typically do. Again, women hate their jobs. They hate working. More so than men, I think. But anyway, she was bitching about her job. And she was also bitching about one of her student loans she had. Very unfortunately, Pink Firefly went to college. And so she went in debt with stupid student loans and all that bullshit. So anyway, she was bitching about all these things. And I said, let's have a talk. Let's sit down. And I basically said, as you know, I make plenty of money. If you don't want to work anymore, you don't have to. You can retire if you'd like to do that. Now, here's the downside though. Before you get too excited, darling, I described the 1950s marriage story. I said, look, if you're quit, I am in charge of your financial life. I'm going to completely take over your budget, completely take over your debts, completely take over your income. I will supply you with an allowance so you can buy the basics. But I'm in charge of her financial life. All of the big financial decisions will be made by me. I will solicit your opinion. I love you. Of course, you're my wife. So of course I want to hear your opinion, but I am the decider. Like George W. Bush, I'm the decider. I am the decider, not you. So the benefit is you don't have to work. You never have to work ever again. I make plenty of money. I have no problem with that whatsoever. The downside is I'm in charge of your financial life. You're going to hand that all over to me. You're going to transfer management of all of your accounts, your checking accounts, your credit cards, your debts, whatever, to me. They're still going to remain in your name because we have to have a legal separation of finances, but I am in charge of how these things are handled. No matter what, I'm in charge. And I said, why don't you think about that and let me know? And if you want to do that, I'm happy to make that transition with you because I think you'd be less stressed out if you didn't have to work. I said, you've been working very hard for 14, 15 years of your life now. If you want to retire, never have to work there again, you're certainly willing to do that. But the price you pay is you'll be reliant upon me to manage your financial life and so on and so forth. And also, I should throw this out as well, because women will bring this up. Some women don't want to be financially dependent on a man. Some women find that very dangerous. And by the way, I agree. In a society with 76 plus divorce rates, that makes a lot of sense to me. And so I told her that too. I said, you may have some concerns about being financially reliant on a man. I understand that, and I don't disagree. So you make that decision. I don't care. As always, I'm Alpha Male 2.0. I'm outcome independent. I don't care what she did or does. And she knows me, and she knew me very well. She knows me very well. She knew I didn't really have a dog in that fight. 1970s marriage or 1950s marriage, I don't give a fuck. Whatever she wants, that really doesn't bother me. I don't care. And she thought about it. She thought about it for a few days, like 3 or 4 days. She really thought about it. And she came back to me and said, okay, I'll quit. I'll come home. I said, all right. So that was about a year ago. A year and a half ago, right before COVID hit, is when she made that decision. So she left her last job. Her last job was as a preschool teacher because she just couldn't stand insurance. So she switched careers briefly as a preschool teacher. And that was last, I want to say February or something like that, January, February. And she has not worked since. And unless something very unusual happens with my finances, or her and I get divorced, she will probably never work again. Or at least never work at a job. I'm sure that at some point she will start a business. She's dabbled in a few things. Or she may do volunteer work. That's probably even more likely. But in terms of working a job to pay her bills, she doesn't really need to do that anymore. And I took over her finances. I manage all of her finances. I manage her budget. I manage her debts. I manage her investments. I manage all that stuff. I manage all those things for her. I get her opinions when she has them. She's gotten very comfortable doing this in the last year and a half. And that's what happens with women. They adapt very quickly. So sometimes she has no opinions. She's like, I do whatever you want. I trust you. I'm like, okay, all right, great. So as of now, and last year and a half or so, we have a 1950s marriage. And I will repeat, we do not have any shared finances. None, none, none. Everything is in her name or my name. Nothing is in both her names. And what I do, I use a legally correct and verified way of giving her money every month as sort of an allowance so she can buy clothing and put gas in her car and crap like that. Again, I make a very high income. I don't mind doing this. Obviously, if you don't make a high income, you would not do this. She has to pay for her own fucking gas. If you make $40,000 a year, I'm sorry, your fucking wife's gonna have to pay for her own fucking gas, right? Right. But if you make a really high income, you can do this as long as it's understood you're in charge of the finances. And again, if Pink Firefly ever wakes up one day, and I very much doubt she will do this because I know her very well, I know her personality, but if she wakes up one day 3 or 4 years from now and says, hey man, I decided, you know what, fuck you. I want to control my own money. I don't want to do what you say with money. Fuck you. I want to buy a Corvette, and I don't want to follow your orders. Fuck you. I will say, great, go get a job. Wonderful. Matter of fact, I did say that to her about a year ago. I said, at any time you don't like what I'm doing, we can go right back to the way it was, sweetheart. You can go get your ass a job and go be stressed out for 50 hours a week and sit in traffic and fight coworkers you don't want, and you could have your own money and control your own financial destiny. Sure, she can make that change whenever she wants, and I don't care. Perfectly fine. Again, I don't care. I'm outcome independent. She can do any way she wants. She can handle that either way, 1970s or 1950s. So, if you live with a woman, or you are going to live with a woman at some time in the future, You need to be aware of those two models. Those are the only two valid models there are in terms of cohabitating with a woman long term. The 1950s style marriage, OLTR marriage, or the 1970s style OLTR marriage. No other style is allowed. None of this is a marriage and this is 50-50 and it doesn't matter if I make no money and you make it all, or you make 70% of the income and I only make 30, but I'm gonna control 60% of the money because I'm the strong independent woman. Fuck you, no. If you're a strong independent woman, great. Have your own money and manage your own money, but you don't touch mine. Or if you don't mind not working, retire from working, and now I control your money, but you don't have to work. Fair is fair is fair across the board. And I just want to reiterate that most normal modern day women will resist both of those models. They don't want any downsides. Modern day women, modern day Western women, I should say, don't want any disadvantages at all. They want all positives on their side, even if it's completely unfair. So be aware you might get some resistance from this when you describe this to a lot of women. Thankfully, I didn't get any resistance from this from Pink Firefly when we discussed it multiple times. And that was a big plus mark for her in terms of me qualifying her for OLTR, which I had to do many years ago when I had together the OLTR talk and go through these processes. As usual with the OLTR talk, you want to go through these things and watch her reactions very carefully. She freaks the fuck out. That's probably not the woman you should move in with. Probably not the woman you should have children with if you want children, for those of you who want children. So that's how this works. Don't be a beta. Don't just cede 50% plus of your financial life to your woman just because she happens to be living in the same house as you. That's not how this works. Think about this. Put it in action in your life. If you're not moved in with a woman yet, remember this. It'll be very important, and I will see you very soon. Bye.